It's not about politics, it's about football.
This is a simple game.
We're going to run the ball, and we're going to pass the ball. He's just going to play football, really.
How good of a football player are you?
I just get in and try to spin it. That's all.
I just love the game.
It really is the best time of the year.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to It's Just Football as we're here live again from Mobile, Alabama, the 2023 Senior Bowl. Day 2, we're recapping day 2 of practices that we saw here today. Trevor Sikkema, Mike Renner with you guys. Mike, how are we feeling today?
Feeling good, feeling less sunburned. It was not not beating down on us today the way it was yesterday, even though, and we also had the sun screen anyway.
We did.
So.
We were over-prepared today because we were under-prepared yesterday.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that makes up for it, but it was. I hopefully you guys can see the sunburn isn't as bad today because we were more well-prepared. It feels like these players were as well. It feels like it was much more evenly matched today, right? Day 1's all about seeing who can really stand out immediately, and then some guys kind of get acclimated. And it just felt like on both sides, the American and the national side, offense and defense, that we got more even competition than we did yesterday.
Yeah, we were talking about it earlier today. Like, they're trying to tell these guys to do things they've never done before in a lot of different cases, like positions you've never played before. And so the very first day, you're in this massively new scenario, and a lot of guys, you know, sometimes the, adjustment period can be drastic. And I think we saw guys who maybe didn't show out day 1 that you wanted to see really showed out here today.
Yeah, so we're going to go through our favorite guys. We're going to give you each 3 players from each squad, the American squad and the national squad. We're also going to turn that into a little bit of a mini mock draft, just like we did yesterday. We're going to have our 5 favorite NFL draft fits from guys that we were watching here at the Senior Bowl. And then because It's Just Football, we're going to have a dog of the day once again that we have to crown here on this show. Mike, we don't have any head coach news. We didn't have any. Well, I guess Tom Brady retired. So
we didn't have to talk about that. He's going to come back anyway.
I was going to say, what percent do you actually think Tom Brady's retired?
Now, if he does come back, it could risk tarnishing his legacy. Right?
No, it
like
can't.
2 unretirements.
No, it can't.
Is one too many. You get one. Everyone gets one. Brett Favre got one, and no one really cared. You get one.
Okay.
A second retirement, though, I guess MJ had 2. So
I was going to say, what's the NFL record? There aren't many records that Tom Brady has the ability to put his stamp on that he hasn't already in the NFL. The most retirements and unretirements would actually be a new record that he could break.
Yeah, I mean, that's the
so
next frontier.
You have to think about that.
Yeah, and now he has to break, like, the bad records, too, if he wants. If he wants to just hang on and, like, throw more picks than Brett Favre, he could probably do it.
As for my Tampa Bay Buccaneers, look, we're on to Caleb Williams. That's all I have to say about it. We're just on to Caleb Williams. But anyways, we're getting beyond that. I just wanted to throw the Brady curveball at you before we dug a little bit into the Senior Bowl. Everybody who's watching the show live, let us know who you thought stood out. Well, we know that we could see these clips and everything everywhere on the timeline. Like, for the people that aren't just in Mobile, Alabama, we know that you guys got thoughts on a lot of these guys that are here in Mobile. Let us know what you think of them, some guys that are standing out, and some players and fits of teams that you would love as we get into that portion of the show as well. We'll start with the American side, and we'll talk about some standouts that we really love today. Mike, we're each going to bring 3 to the table. Who's your first guy from the American group that you like today?
I could not mention this guy. We tried to get new names in here, but Tank Dell, the Houston wide receiver.
Right off the bat.
He's the best wide receiver here. He could not be guarded once again. His ability to separate, and it's not even just that. It's like the understanding of how to separate and how to get open. And you see him, on, a normal hitch route stop and then come back to the football and then attack it in the air and realize that, hey, the separation I maybe just got won't be there for long unless I go and attack this football. And just that mentality that he plays with is what can make up for a guy being like 163 pounds. So the, Darnell Mooney comps aren't unwarranted. The Deshaun Jackson comps are maybe a little lofty, but we've seen guys do it at that size. And yeah, he's only, 5'8", 5'9", but he has a 6-foot wingspan, which is far more important for me at the wide receiver position.
Well, you said right before the show when we were going live, you're like, this is the player that, well, certainly the Los Angeles Rams thought that Tutu Atwell was going to be, right?
Yes.
And this is the player that they thought that they were drafting. It just feels like Tank is so much more confident, crisp,
Crisp.
And however you want to say it, like he attacks the football, it feels like in the air, deep down the field, and that was just areas of Tutu Atwell's game that I didn't really see. Yeah, he had the deep speed, and we saw that time and time again at Louisville, but when it came to like contested catches and really the nuance of playing the position, outside of just straight speed, he wasn't able to really show that on a consistent basis. Not saying that he'll never be able to, but we didn't see that in his tape. We're seeing that already from Tank Dell.
Yes.
So it feels like if there was a team that drafted a Tutu Atwell in the second round, it feels like Tank Dell's going to be a second-round pick. What do you think about that?
I agree. I mean, truthfully, I was high on him going into this. So, obviously, to see him do this, verifying it. But I had him a top 50 player. I had 47th overall on the PFF draft board heading into this. And I think that's the range we could see him come off the board. We obviously have a fit for him that we like a little later on in the show. There's a tease for you.
My first guy that I want to get to from the American team, Darius Rush, the corner from South Carolina, right? Cam Smith gets a lot of the publicity as the guy that could go first, the first corner off the board from South Carolina. But the guy on the opposite side of him, Darius Rush, man, I've been really impressed with him so far this week. Now, there are times when I feel like he might lose a rep early on off the line of scrimmage, but you believe in like the trail technique and being able to recover and all, like he just does that so well. Feels like he plays very comfortable with his back to the ball as well. He again made so many different plays. He had an interception in the one-on-one drills yesterday. He almost had another one today, and there were just times that he was blanketing these receivers. Couple of his reps, I thought it was almost like he was sitting in the offensive huddle. It's almost like he knew where the wide receiver route was going. He was able to cut on it so well. He was able to anticipate. But I just think that was from him reading these wide receivers and being able to do that. So we've said it before. It's a loaded cornerback class. Yes. But Darius Rush, man, we got to add him to the list. He's having a great week, I think.
Yeah, you love to see guys who have ball production on tape back it up here. He on tape at South Carolina, I guess it's not even tape, the statistically, a quarter of his targets throughout his career he either broke up or picked off. Now here,
there you go.
In Mobile, the most pass breakups / interceptions through 2 days in the one-on-ones.
Yep.
Like he is a producer of ball production. I guess that was a little redundant. But he gets his hands on footballs. May not be the high-end athlete that goes high in the draft,
right?
But he's the guy you probably love somewhere on day 2.
To me, it just continues to strengthen what is the bread and butter, or I guess I should probably say the backbone of the 2023 NFL draft class with corners. So.
I agree. Yeah, in terms of position, I think running back's still the strongest. But obviously running backs
man, I don't know anymore, man.
Corners there.
Running backs are stacked this year, no doubt about it. I'm not taking anything away from the running back class. I just continue to find new corners that impress me. It's almost like what you were saying yesterday a little bit with Tyree Stevenson, where it's like, well, I already got 10 corners I like, but maybe I have to get them in there.
Exactly.
And then you're moving guys a little bit further down the list. So anyways, who's your second guy?
My second one, I'm going to the safety position. I'm going to Florida State safety Jamie Robinson, actually a former teammate of Darius Rush. Started his career at South Carolina, transferred to Florida State 4 years as a starter.
It's a background knowledge.
And he showed out anytime you see a safety going in the one-on-ones against wide receivers on the outside and looking competent at all. Mm-hmm. That's a massive value add because of how valuable a safety is that can drop down and cover the slot at the NFL level. And we saw that in reps against Rashee Rice today. We saw that in reps against a number of other receivers. He looked like he belonged at that position. And then, obviously, as a tackler, the other things about the safety position we've already seen on tape. So adding that checkbox to his prospect profile, I think Jamie Robinson's really helped his draft stock.
He was super physical today. There were a couple of reps that I saw him win with just physicality. Like, he's not afraid to get his hands on corners in the contact window. He's not afraid to kind of bump them off of their routes. And we saw that time and time again. It really disrupted a lot of these wide receivers. It feels like maybe these corners are, I don't want to say afraid of getting called for penalties because, right, we have an officiating team that is here, and they'll throw the flag for defensive pass interference if during a one-on-one drill or during the scrimmage period, you commit a penalty, so you know, like, okay, like, yeah, can't do that. It's an NFL officiating crew. They're going to call me on that. But it just feels like he is still very confident in knowing what he can get away with, and he's not shying away from what he knows he can get away with. And so I think that he was another guy that I'm glad that you named off there. I got to talk about Tajay Spears.
Oh, yeah.
Dude, you talked about this running back class being good. He is absolutely one of them. To me, he's been the best back here over the last 2 days, and in my opinion, that's not a debate. He had the highlight run of the day here during the full 11-on-11 period of practice, where I believe it was just a little counter run where he was following his offensive line the way that he needed to, got blocked very cleanly. He got to the second level and boom, just put a move on the linebacker. Could not even, and they're not even tackling, so he's not even breaking tackles. It's basically a scenario where if the guy who you are going up against, if he gets you in between his shoulders or if he gets two hands on you, it's almost like a two-hand touch thing where it's like they'll blow the whistle. They don't want any of these guys really taking hits. They don't want any of them going to the ground. They're trying to avoid injury. Nobody even touched Spears on this run. And he ends up breaking it for 50 yards, and the offense is going crazy, and they're all running to the end zone with him and everything. And it just, Tajay Spears, I've just been so impressed with him over the last 2 days. Major standout player for me.
Yeah, I think if anyone's raised their stock the most here at the running back position, which is difficult to do here. It's obviously not a scenario that sets up well. It has been him. His ability to basically from a standstill, or just the acceleration, the explosiveness that he has, it looks different compared to the rest of the running backs here. And I think he won the week before he even strapped his pads on because he came in at 204 pounds. When he listed at 195 at Tulane, obviously well below what you'd like for a bell cow starting running back in the NFL. We've talked about it before. The average running back that went for over 1,000 yards last year weighed 220 pounds was the average weight. So bigger backs get the carries, are the more valuable backs at the NFL level. But when you're 5'9", you can be a little on the lighter side. The Aaron Joneses of the world, the shorter guys, you can be 205 and still be a power back at the NFL level because of the way, obviously, you're packing that mass on. So for him to come in at 204, have that same level of explosiveness, and do what he's done this week, yeah, big riser.
Yep, I agree. I agree 100%. What about the last guy from the American group?
Last one, I'm going to shout out some offensive linemen here. This guy, he was IOL 3 on the PFF board heading in. May not be climbing up because the other two guys ahead of him, John Michael Schmitz, the Minnesota center, and Osiris Torrance, the Florida guard, doing well themselves. But Steve Avila, the TCU guard, get to know the name because I think he's going to be a second-rounder after what he's put on tape here because he played well at guard and center today, snapping, even though he did not play center at TCU. Didn't get beaten in the one-on-ones. He is very stout, 330 pounds, but he can move at that size. One of the best pass protectors in this draft class. I think you heard it here first. Not heard it here first, but this guy's going to go highly in the draft. He's going to go. I think he's a second rounder.
Whether it's true or not, you know, like
no one's going to remember. But do you think he's a second rounder?
Maybe they did hear it here first. You don't know. You don't know. They're not going to fact check you on it. you just say it with your chest.
Steve Avila.
You heard it here first. Nobody else has said this about Steve Avila. No, I don't know if that's true or not, but I'm glad that you're giving him some good pub here, whether you are first or not. Look, I've loved what these teams have done, especially along the offensive line. You know, they're rotating a lot of these guys into different positions. Of course, when you're going one-on-one, they'll say, like, hey, we want a new left guard in here, new center in here. And normally it's just to kind of be a placeholder. But then when the ball comes back around, that's wherever they lined up, whatever position they wanted to step up and take, they then have to take a rep there. Yeah. And there were a couple of times where Cody Mock, we talked about him on yesterday's show, the North Dakota State offensive lineman, how he was playing guard all day yesterday. He had a couple of reps at center today just because he stepped in, and you talked about him maybe being a center prospect. And there were just a lot of interior offensive line prospects that you go, okay, they were a center only in college, or they were a guard only in college, that they're getting some reps at those other positions, which is something that I think is very advantageous about the Senior Bowl. Last guy I'm going to shout out from the American team, Iowa State pass rusher Will McDonald. We didn't talk about him a ton yesterday. Could have. Certainly wasn't about to go 2 days without talking about Will McDonald because he feels like he is one of the best pass rushers here. I mean, he's a lighter guy. He's around, 240, 245? I think he was listed at 243, I believe. Maybe it was a little bit under 240, but I think he's 245 now. So trying to bulk up a little bit, trying to stay in that 245 range, which is good to see. And it's also good to see that he still has the speed with it. Multiple times, no matter who he was going up against, he was able to display the fact that he could hit you with speed to the outside shoulder, or he was very comfortable hitting you with speed with inside counters as well. Specifically, he went up against Darnell Wright, the Tennessee offensive tackle, who we loved from yesterday, who I still like. I still like a lot. He had back-to-back reps against Darnell Wright. First one, beat him to the inside. Second one, beat him to the outside. And it was just two clean wins that you really did not see against Darnell Wright, that we have not seen all week. And yet Will McDonald, he's the one who bested him once the day before. He got 2 more wins against him today. He's playing his best against the best competition. And as it comes to speed rushers in this class, he's making a name for himself, and he's making a case to be one of the top guys drafted.
Yeah, I think with his pre-draft process, we could see him as a name that sneaks into the back of some first-round mocks.
I would agree.
Because of, one, he was a Bruce Feldman's Freaks List guy. He's going to go to the combine and blow it up. 2, he has a unique build for the edge position that he's 6'3", but he has 35-inch arms, a 6'10" wingspan. He is ideally built. Like, he could probably put on some more mass onto that frame and be an every down edge, because at Iowa State he's playing like 4 and 5 technique, head up over tackles, and still stout enough in the run game to do that. So he's an every down player despite only being 241 pounds. And if he keeps rushing the passer like this in a role that really we didn't get to see a lot of him at Iowa State. I think someone's going to fall in love with those tools and what they can do to develop them.
All right, national team. Let's go 3 up, 3 down here. What do you got?
First one for the national team, I am going to go Michigan State wide receiver, Jaden Reed.
Oh, it has to be.
Fastest GPS time of any wide receiver here, a speedster, and
the data.
at the catch point as well today, he showed a number of great receptions, a number of great ball tracking reps down the football field, and that he's got that suddenness, that quickness that is what people are looking for. One of the better separators here, one of the better guys getting off the line of scrimmage, and yeah, I think he's made himself some money.
Yeah, that's my number one guy as well, and I figured that we would probably mention him quite a bit on the show. I didn't know that we were going to both have him here in our list, but you talked about the release. That's something that's pressed me 2 days in a row now with Reed. I didn't talk enough about him yesterday when it came to this because we were praising Michael Wilson, and for good reason. He had another good day, the Stanford wide receiver. He's making a case to be wide receiver 1 from this group here in Mobile, but Jaden Reed, man, the way that he gets off the line of scrimmage, the footwork, the foot speed specifically, he is getting these corners turned around. If they've got certain kind of leverage on him, they may think, oh, there's no way he's getting across my face this quickly, and boom, he absolutely will. And right before he gets into his route, he's already got them spun around, they're confusing, they're trying to play catch up, and that's just the kind of receiver that Reed is. He's a speed wide receiver that's a lot more than just a vertical guy. He knows how to use his speed and his quickness to really start to separate even right when the ball is snapped. So he is somebody who I wanted to shout out as well. I felt like he was one of the standout wide receivers for this day.
Yeah, I didn't think it was a great receiver class here, but there have been a number of guys who were, I don't want to say off the radar, but like maybe more like considered day 3 guys heading into this that may be more day 2 guys after this.
Who's next for you?
Next for me is Northwestern defensive tackle. We practiced this pronunciation prior to the show. Adetomiwa Adebare.
There it is. There it is.
The Northwestern DT. Unique build, to say the least.
Holy cow.
One of the weirdest builds truly I've ever seen. 6'1".
And that's a compliment. You say weird. That's that's a compliment.
In as good a way as possible as you can have for a defensive lineman, because he's short, stout, 6'1", 280.
Good leverage.
But with 34-plus inch arms, a 6'10" wingspan, he gets under guys. You saw him do a number of different pass rushing moves today in the one-on-ones that I don't want to say we didn't see at Northwestern, but like he wasn't allowed that kind of freedom that we saw today in the one-on-ones to really go at it, really attack gaps the way he has, and he is a high-end athlete. This guy is going to test extremely well at the Combine. I think he's going to be one of the risers of this pre-draft process because today no one could hold a candle to him in the one-on-ones. He was the most impressive DT there.
Yeah, we just think about the mechanics of being a little bit shorter, a little bit more stout. It means you're packing a lot of muscle on you, but then having a longer arm. So if you're an interior guy, if you just try to visualize this, you're able to get a little bit lower. You're able to create that leverage, get underneath the pad level, a lot of these offensive guards. And yet when you shoot your hands in there from leverage, those arms extend, and you mentioned how long those arms are. Now all of a sudden, interior offensive linemen, might look like T-Rexes out there. Like they can't latch on to you, So it's a perfect build.
Geno Atkins is what that's called.
Geno Atkins.
It reminds me build-wise though, but Geno had like stubbier arms too. Geno was not like the length of a guy like Ade, but it reminds me like Osa Odigizua coming out of UCLA.
Sure.
Who 280 pounds. People are like, oh, is he big enough to play at that? Well, it's like, well, he is because he's only like 6'1", but he still has long enough arms. So he's played at that level for the Cowboys and played well because of it.
All right, my second guy, Kentucky cornerback Keidron Smith. I continue to go back to this cornerback class and just a little teaser of what I'm going to talk about in 3 minutes. That's not the only corner that I have here on this group too, but Keidron Smith really impressed me because as I was watching even the warm-up period with the corners versus they just go one up against each other before they get into the wide receiver stuff, the one-on-ones and the scrimmages. And he just continued to use his length and his physicality in a way that even the coaches that were coaching him were like, it's a damn good rep. There are just a handful of times that they were just saying to him, like, I like that, what you just did, the way that you got your arms extended, the way that you used your shoulder there, the way that you bumped this guy this way. He's like, bring that to the field. And he did. I thought that there were a handful of reps. I didn't see every rep of his, but there were, again, a handful of reps of where he took that coaching, that direction of like, oh, okay, they talked about this as a strength. Let me bring this to the field. And he was able to use that well in the one-on-ones, I thought, especially. We talked about Julius Brents yesterday being a bigger, longer corner, yet being patient, using his length exactly when it mattered most, not just all the time and being reckless with it. That's what I felt like I got from Smith today. So this is another guy who used physicality correctly, and there were just a handful of reps, especially early early on in the practice when I was very impressed and I felt like he was winning a lot.
I'm going to have to lean on you for this one because
Okay.
I did not watch him.
Okay.
But I will have to go back and
All right.
watch him.
That's trust, folks. That's
My
trust.
last one, though, is a guy that is a fun-to-watch all-star.
Mm-hmm.
If you've seen his tape at all. A Cincinnati hometown king. Ivan Pace Jr., the linebacker from Cincinnati.
Yes.
Now, have to get this out of the way. He is 5'10". He is 231 pounds.
Hold on, so am
He's
I.
not
okay,
going
I'm
to
not
be
230. All right.
He's not going to be Luke
Lost me there.
Kuechly anytime soon. He's not going to be, Tremaine Edmonds anytime soon. He's going to have to play a role.
He might be.
A unique role. But my lord, if in the pass rushing one-on-ones against running backs, it was comical. They were speed bumps to him. And that obviously shouldn't be surprising because he led all of college football with 55 pressures as an off-ball linebacker last year. 12 sacks and 18 hits. I am interested. Now, I'm not saying that he's definitely going to do it, but a James Harrison type transition with this guy, if I'm drafting him like the 6th, 7th round, let this guy rush the passer. Like, he has a unique, uncanny ability to do so, knows exactly how to get home. And he's 5'10", could probably get up to 240 or so. That's what he was listed at Cincinnati. And I want to see just him reps as a blitzer. This guy is a weapon in that regard. And he had the second fastest GPS time of any linebacker.
He did.
So
You brought that up to me multiple
like,
times during practice.
That's a guy that you can win with. In a certain role, you're not going to have him play one-on-one coverage against Travis Kelce and expect that to go well for you. But there are things that he can do as a guy who earned a 93.2 overall grade to lead all college football last year at the linebacker position that in certain schemes can be valuable.
I like where your head's at. I like the thought process of maybe putting him on the line, letting him rush a little bit. Can't in all good conscience compare somebody to James Harrison until I see them stack 24 plates of 45 pounds onto a sled and push it 50 yards down a turf field.
He wears a neck roll, though. I feel like that's got to help.
Helps the case.
If you're going to be like
wears a neck
stout
roll,
linebacker, neck
and he
roll's
always
way to
has the
go.
jersey rolled up. He's never plays without the stomach, stomach unexposed. It's always exposed.
Yeah.
So that's already bonus points
The gut's
towards
out.
the James Harrison.
The gut is always out with him. That's true. That's true. Okay, well, maybe we're well on our way. Maybe I need to follow him on Instagram. Maybe he'll post, a couple of IG stories of him training, and maybe he'll throw, 20 plates of 45 on the sled, and
once he makes BR Gridiron the social feed, then you know that he's
believe what this draft prospect did in a workout.
And that's
what I need to see. And then it's just going to be Ivan Pace Jr. Last guy that I want to shout out from the national squad, Kyle Blue Kelly, the cornerback from Stanford. I'm going to be honest with you, had a rough day one. He did. But it's tough to come in as a corner and really stand out. It's just a drill. You go in a lot of drills that are offensive focused, especially the one-on-ones. He had his teammate Michael Wilson just making him look silly.
Yeah.
Come on. I mean, you can't do that.
It's tough
friend.
stuff.
And it was tough. I felt like there were a couple of reps where he just wasn't confident. And I feel like he has the ability. He just was a step late, just a millisecond late, whether it was to flip the hips or recognize where the wide receiver was going. And it was just a tough first day for him. But I felt like he bounced back beautifully today. He looked a lot more in control. He had a pick six in the 11-on-11 period, which was fantastic. He almost had another interception 4 plays later on the opposite side of the line of scrimmage. So he was moving between left corner and right corner. So I love to see that versatility for him. And I just know he's got a handful of fans out there who are big on him, big on the size, what he could do. Brian Kelly's son, so he's got the NFL pedigree as well. But I just wanted to shout him out as a guy who had a really nice bounce back day after a tough one on day one, but it was a nice day too.
Hey, he's another corner who just on tape kind of got lost in the shuffle for me, where it's like I like it. I like him in off coverage a lot. I like his eyes and the way he attacks the football, but it's just there's so many corners. Where does he end up stacking up? He could unfortunately slip to end of day 2, day 3 just because sheer numbers game.
Yep. All right, so those are our 12. Well, actually, that's not true.
No, we doubled up a couple.
Did we double
just
up
one,
2?
Just Jaden Reed.
Okay, so 11.
Yeah.
Those are our 11 guys that we liked during the week. Of course, let us know in the chat and in the comment section what guys you saw on the timeline that you really liked. Maybe you were watching it live, watching the coverage live. Maybe you were reading tweets, and just let us know who you guys were impressed with this week so far here on day 2 of the Senior Bowl. Let's go to our 5 favorite draft fits. We've been doing this every single day. We did it yesterday where we took a prospect that we liked and we put it into practice. We actually visualized where they could win in the NFL with what team, a team that might be needing them, having them high on their radar or on their draft boards. We gave you 5 yesterday. We're going to give you 5 more today. Mike, where are we starting with today?
We're going to start with Tank Dell. Obviously, he's been the star of the Senior Bowl to a spot that needs another separator, and it's the Cleveland Browns. You have guys in Donovan Peoples-Jones and David Bell that couldn't get away from, COVID if they had the vaccine, right?
You just that's immediately where it went.
Good pull. That was off the top of the dome.
That's immediately where it went.
Oh, I'm sorry. That wasn't really where it went. But a guy like Tank Dell, obviously we saw here, no one could stick with them. So adding him to Amari Cooper, I think that just gives Deshaun Watson a bevy of options.
I thought you were going to give him to the Rams. Just take another swing at the bat.
We
know the type.
Yeah.
We know the type.
That's what they wanted.
It's right there.
Yeah.
No, I do. I like this fit for the Browns. Certainly, I think that they need dynamic playmakers. They need another separator is really what they need, right? They need a slot guy. I think they need somebody who's able to give them some weapons there, or to give them another weapon in the passing game. They're going to upgrade receiver, I think, no matter what. Doing so in the draft, and especially without having a first-round pick, is this is a way they could do it. So I like Tank Dell with the Browns. I'm going to go with another one. I'm going to go with my guy, Will McDonald, who I shouted out. I'm going to talk about him going to the Arizona Cardinals. Now, don't know exactly what defense the Cardinals are going to throw out there yet. It's to be seen. But no matter what, they need pass rushers. J.J. Watt was the best pass rusher that they had. Obviously, he retires. Zach Allen's a free agent, even if you like Zach Allen as a pass rusher. I mean, he really wasn't giving you a ton anyways. I think at number 3 overall, there's a good chance that they're going to go after, a Will Anderson. So I think that they could certainly go after an off-ball linebacker, especially a speedy one, maybe a little bit lighter of one. So they could hit that in the first round. But let's say maybe they don't, or shoot, maybe if they do and they want to double up on it. They go Will Anderson at number 3. They can maybe turn around and get Will McDonald later in the draft, early on day 2. I just think that his profile as a speed rusher, a stand-up outside linebacker, a guy who could really attack the pocket, that's something that they desperately need no matter what.
Yeah, if they go Will Anderson 3, that might be a little too many with, Majay Sanders drafting last year, Cameron Thomas drafting last year. But if they go Jalen Carter at 3, which is very likely as well, or could be even more likely, depending on if we're thinking quarterbacks are going 1-2.
Maybe trade down, maybe offensive line.
Then I think it makes a ton of sense just because it's such a need. You can't just rely and say, hey, Cameron Thomas, Majay Sanders, they're going to take the next step.
Yeah.
Even if they do take the next step, shit, let's get some more juice in there, right? So, yeah, I do think that's a fit that I'd like to see.
I just feel like the Cardinals are at a point to where, if you like Will McDonald, I don't think Majay Sanders or Cam Thomas are, holding you back from taking it.
Yes.
If you really like that guy, and it's just it's such a position of need for the Cardinals. So that was my second one. What's the next one?
My next one, I have Will
Muschamp, defensive coordinator?
Luke Musgrave, the tight end from Oregon State. One of the most physically impressive tight ends here. 6'6", 250, massive hands, legit speed. His best routes come on basically corners, posts, vertical routes. That's when he really shows off the skill set. Going to the Miami Dolphins, because I think they're going to let Mike Gesicki walk.
Okay, there's it.
In free agency.
Yep.
And get a guy who just is, to me, a better fit in terms of the vertical route tree. Gesicki never really evolved on that. It was never really his game there in Miami. I think that is Musgrave's game, and that gives you just another level of dynamism, just another threat that defenses have to worry about that. When the teams that really could take away the receiving weapons on the outside basically shut down the Dolphins this season, giving another option there. Just something to give a defense another headache, I think, would go a long way. Obviously, they don't have that first-round pick, but it's somewhere in the second round.
Yeah, I don't...
Could be the pick.
I mean, we don't think Musgrave's going to be a first-round pick, do we?
I
don't think that.
I don't think so after this week.
Okay. And that's why I think that the fit makes sense, because I think that that's an area where they could definitely upgrade tight end if they let Mike Gesicki walk. And Lord knows the Miami Dolphins are never going to say no to playmakers, especially unique playmakers, guys that have unique size and speed. They're just not going to say no to that. Adetomiwa Adebawore. I was ready for it. Can't tell you how many times I said that before the show to get myself ready for it. But what about him going to the Chicago Bears?
Ooh, I love that.
Talked about the skill set, right? Interior defensive lineman. I feel like the Bears need a big upgrade there. We've talked about Jalen Carter potentially being a major addition, being able to play 3 tech. And in Matt Eberflus defense, it's paramount. But even if they get Jalen Carter, it can't just be Jalen Carter, right? Yes. I mean, you've got to have a rotation of players that you can get in and out of the defensive line that you like. So you say you like this fit?
Yeah, and Adebawore, he played edge at Northwestern. He's playing D-tackle here when that really wasn't his primary position at Northwestern.
They probably looked at the arm length and they were like, yeah, just play edge.
You can play anywhere, right? Like, that's the versatility that he offers at that size. So pick, they don't have that top of the second round pick. They don't have 32, but they have 54. Mm-hmm. They have 65. One of those two picks feels like a nice range for Atabara after this week.
All right, last one. What's the fifth one?
Last one of my guys here, Jamie Robinson,
all right,
the safety from Florida State. We mentioned him earlier. I love him going to the Buffalo Bills. Obviously, DeMar Hamlin, his situation, we don't expect him to be on a football field anytime soon. And obviously with Micah Hyde, Jordan Poyer getting up there, their injury histories, I think they're going to reload at this position. Second, third rounder, they have pick 60. That feels like a good range for safety in this draft class, and a guy who just feels like a Buffalo Bill in the way he sees the game, his ability, what he can do as a tackler. I think that would be a great fit.
I love when we get to the point of scouting where you just go, this guy just feels like a Bill. But I do agree. I think that they're going to love the physical nature that he brings to the position. We talked about him obviously earlier in the show. And if they have any kind of safety need, and if you even if Jordan Poyer or Micah Hyde, they're comfortable with those guys, you mentioned it, safety depth might be something that they really need. And you draft a guy like Robinson, maybe in a year or two he ends up becoming a starter for you. But I've been super impressed with what we've seen on the practice field from him. So I'm all for this. I think that this guy definitely feels like a Buffalo Bill. I agree with you there. Let us know what you guys thought of our 5 draft fits that we had here from day 2. If you missed the ones that we had on day 1, we go through a lot of the guys that we liked and we put them in different places on different teams from day 1 as well. We would love to hear from you guys too. For the players that you liked, let us know some team fits. If it's your favorite team, shout them out. Let us know. I want this guy to go to my favorite team, and this is why, or whatever the reason is. We'd love to hear that because when you really get to match the prospects with the team, that's when all this stuff obviously becomes very real, and it becomes a lot of fun. Before we get out of here, we got to do our dog of the day, as we do often here on It's Just Football, everybody's favorite segment. So, Mike, who is your dog of the day?
We talked about him a lot, but it's Tank Dell. He was, again, just anyone he went up against could not stick with them, could not even touch him at the line of scrimmage, truthfully, in press coverage. And that's an ability that, they'll get better at the NFL level. It's not going to translate wholesale. There'll be reps he'll probably get eliminated at the line, and that just happens. And it's going to happen with smaller wide receivers. But my Lord, if you get up there and you whiff, you're done.
Oh, you're done.
You're done.
There is no recovery.
See a lot of guys challenge him. So, Tank Dell, definitely dog of the day.
There is not a corner, I can say this confidently, there is not a corner here that could recover from Tank Dell getting them clean on line of scrimmage. There's nobody. Not a corner here. And we like this corner class, but that just goes to show you how much Tank Dell is dominating. I'm going to go back to the offensive line. Go back to that true trench dog mentality. John Michael Schmitz, the center from Minnesota. This man's been awesome for 2 straight days now. I believe it was his block that was the key block from Kenny McIntosh's big run. It might have been his key block from Tajay Spears. I can't remember, but he's just been all over the place, man. He's been dominating the one-on-ones, the run blocking reps, the pass blocking reps. I said on this show yesterday, he gives you a little bit of attitude too. He will fight through the whistle. He'll make sure that he's winning the rep no matter what. And he gives you a little something at the end. Like I said, not quite Trevor Penning level, but Trevor Penning level was a little too far. So I like comfortably where John Michael Schmitz is. He feels like he's center 1 in this class.
Yes.
And he feels like a guy who, if there is going to be a center that goes in the first round, it would be him. I still think he is a day 2 guy, but if you need a pure center, this is your guy in this class.
I don't think it's a debate at this point. I think he's top, like you said, pure center. Now, maybe you move Peter Skronsky to center. Maybe you want to have one of the tackles move there, sure. But guys that played center in college, he is the top, not even close. And not a high-end athlete like Tyler Linderbaum was coming out. I don't think he's quite that as a prospect. But in space still, on screens, every single one they've run so far, he locates linebackers.
Yep.
He's not getting exposed in space. He has that balance, has the natural fluidity that, like I said, he's never going to look like Tyler Linderbaum, never going to make those high-end blocks, but he's good enough at them, and he's great at the line of scrimmage.
He's a dog. He's a dog. So those are our dogs of the day. We've got one more day for you where we've got all of these things. So we're going to have total superlatives that we're going to do throughout the week. We got one more show for you, and that's what it's going to kind of encapsulate. It's not just going to be the day 3 stuff. We're going to combine what we saw from day 1, day 2, day 3, and we're going to give you a total Senior Bowl recap. That's coming with you tomorrow. Mike, you got any Got any takes before we get out of here?
Yeah, I was saying this earlier. I'm just glad that we don't have to worry about the quarterbacks here. Not that like some of them will get drafted, sure, but I'm glad that we don't have to harp on them and act as if like these guys are going to be dudes at the next level. They're all nice backups, sure. I was sitting over by. Maybe I should tell a story, but I'm going to. I'm sitting over by the net behind, and the quarterbacks. There's like team drills going on.
Always love when Mike starts a story with, I probably shouldn't be saying this.
And they're throwing. We have Tyson Bagent, we have Clayton Tune, and we have Max Duggan throwing at a net that just has, the net with like the little squares that you're trying to get the football into. I saw Duggan miss the net like 5 times in a row. If you were near that net, you were in a war zone.
Yeah, but he's a gamer.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he came on the field.
He did.
And he was roping in the 2-minute drill.
And
redemption, Mike.
He wasn't supposed to start.
He was staring right at you.
Yeah. And
he pointed you out. I think I saw it.
He had a great season.
I think he pointed right to the sideline. He might have pointed you with one finger in the air. I don't know.
Is he the best TCU quarterback of all time?
Oh no, that's Boykin.
Yeah, it's Trevor Boykin.
There you go.
That's not the answer I was looking for.
He's gonna be so mad.
Andy Dalton is the Trevor Boykin was correct though. What he did in 14 with Josh Doxson.
No, it's Kenny Hill.
Special stuff.
No, it's Kenny Hill. It's what a special.
I'm trying to think, were there any like old school TCU QBs?
I don't know.
Nope.
It's probably Andy Dalton.
Yeah.
Sorry, Quinn. Sorry to leave the show on a sour note for you. Appreciate everybody watching. Appreciate everybody watching the coverage over the last couple of days. We have 2 more shows for you this week. Rain or shine. Probably shouldn't say that. We will have some sort of Day 3 recap and total Senior Bowl recap for you guys coming tomorrow. So it's going to be a lot of different superlatives, a lot of the guys that we love the best. Of course, a dog of the week. We're going to talk about some NFL fits as well. But then the final episode that we will have for you this week, we are going to do a post-Senior Bowl mock draft. Get ready. I know Mike's ready.
I love mocks, dude.
He's already putting in the cheat. He's already getting guys in there. We weren't sure how many Senior Bowl guys we were going to get into the first round. Might have a couple more than we thought at the back end. So it's going to be a brand new mock draft. Obviously, it's not going to be just Senior Bowl guys. It's going to be a legit mock draft. But I do think there's a chance that we could see a couple of new names, some Senior Bowl names at the back end of that first round mock. So got 2 more shows coming for you guys. Appreciate everybody watching all the coverage so far. I'm Trevor Sikkema. That's Mike Renner. Until next time, this has been It's Just Football. See you guys tomorrow.
It's not about politics, it's about football.
This is a simple game.
We're going to run the ball, and we're going to pass the ball. He's just going to play football, really.
How good of a football player are you?
Not just get it and try to spin it. That's all.
I just love the game.
It really is the best time of the year.